Now on your Tuesday morning drive.
The youngest player to ever shoot a 59 on the PGA Tour, and he does it.
This week, Justin Thomas jumps islands to Oahu, where in 2017 he had a record-breaking week topped by a 59. Can he find the spark once again on familiar fairways, or will his good pal Jordan Spieth steal the spotlight? It's a stacked field of pros and celebrities at the Diamond Resorts Invitational this weekend. We've got a successful businessman turned TV star, plus a Major League All-Star turned Hall of Famer in the house. How will they perform under pressure when pitted against each other? Stay tuned to find out. And after Nick Saban won his 5th national championship at Alabama Monday night, we go around the world of golf for reaction from an instant classic. It's all ahead on Morning Drive this Tuesday, January 9th, 2018. And welcome inside Studio AP on a Tuesday edition of Morning Drive. I'm Damon Hack alongside an LPGA veteran in Paige McKenzie, a PGA Tour winner in Robert Dameron. Good morning. Welcome back to you from Morgan and Friends.
Yes, thank you. I was down in Boca Raton yesterday at Morgan Pressel's event. They raised over $1 million again this year, raised $6 million total over the course of the 11 years it's been going on. It's been an incredible, very impressive event that Morgan Pressel hosted yesterday.
No doubt about it. And you're caddying at a charity event this week
am.
at the Diamond Resorts Invitational benefiting Florida Hospital. You're looping for AJ Pierzynski?
AJ Pierzynski, yeah. We got Pudge Rodriguez in today, some catcher vibes. I want to try to get some kind of bet. I know I can pull my man through at the end of the week.
Yes,
Are you getting 10%
can.
or
10% of nothing is what?
10% of nothing is nothing.
Is nothing.
Well,
Okay.
big charity dollars, big football game last night. Let's say good morning to Bailey Mosier and Matt Janella. What's up, guys?
Damon, good morning. Aloha. I'm fresh back from Hawaii, but yes, that game happened last night, and the whole world was watching, including this guy. You stayed up all night. You watched it.
I am not fresh here at Morning Drive, thanks to that amazing game. This was, like Damon said, instant classic. Where did you leave the game? Did you
Well,
check?
my sound bar when I got home wouldn't work, so I got frustrated, and I was in Hawaii time, so I actually went to bed.
Oh, my goodness.
I know I missed it. I watched the highlights this morning, though.
No,
Incredible.
it'll be replayed plenty of times. It truly was magical, and I'm glad for people who did stay up and then had to work Morning Drive, it was all well worth it.
So the whole world was tweeting about it. Of course, some Alabama alumni that you know, Justin Thomas, he said, absolutely speechless. Coach Saban is a legend. Can't get over how crazy the game that was.
If he was absolutely speechless, wouldn't the tweet end at absolutely speechless?
Oh, semantics. Come on. He didn't mean it, really. Bud Cauley also went to Alabama. What a game. Unreal class, and what a teammate. Roll Tide.
Totally agree. One of the more impressive things out of a very impressive game was the way Jalen Hurts reacted to being benched second
Absolutely,
half.
and that true freshman coming in and doing what he did. How about Tom Lovelady? Also went to Alabama. Haters gonna hate. Haters gonna hate. What else can you say?
For people who have dominance,
Shake it off.
What do they have, 5 titles in 9 years or something ridiculous? I would imagine that incites a lot of hate.
Yeah, so Tony Finau golf, he actually said he didn't go to Alabama. He was rooting for the Bulldogs all week, and then once that true freshman got in, it was roll tide, roll, we support our own, because Tony Finau is actually of Hawaiian descent, and that freshman Tagovailoa, that's how you say his last name.
Very impressive.
He is from Hawaii.
Hawaii's hot. Kapalua, tag, Tua man. Now we're going to Sony. Damon, back over to you.
All right, guys. JT, defending champ at the Sony Open, will have a smile on his face because of Alabama winning the national championship, but also because he's back at the scene of that historic week last year at Waialae Country Club. Let's take you back to what happened in case you forgot. It was an incredible Thursday, Paige McKenzie. Round began at 10.
I wonder if he was starting to think something special may happen with this start. First hole, that's special.
Ooh, that is special. So he's 2 under right away. Robert Dameron coming off that win at Kapalua. This is now the 13th hole after dropping a shot on 11.
Well, he slowed down tremendously. He was on pace for 36 under after the first hole. I don't think that was really going to be in the cards, but the putter was working quite nicely.
Sank the 15-foot birdie putt. Now on to 14. Same thing. Another 15-footer, Paige.
A lot of momentum for him on the back nine, and you mentioned it, coming off of the win in Maui the week before. You have to wonder how much of the confidence that he's carrying into the next week.
Island hopping, birdie hopping. This is the 16th hole, Dameron.
And I got to tell you, these greens are quite grainy. It's not easy to make all those putts, and you've got to make a mistake somewhere, and he just did it.
And the ball striking page was absolutely a thing of beauty.
It was, and a lot of the defense when you do play in Hawaii is the weather and the wind, and you can see wasn't very windy that day, which allowed him to go right at the flag sticks.
Hitting it the right weight, setting himself up for another birdie, Dameron.
Well, you just said it. And you notice when a guy's really striking it well, watch how often he's pin high. And he was pin high all day long.
Just another great shot. Now on to 18, one of the most powerful players in the game, Paige.
Yeah, and you can tell with the driving distance, having just an iron in his hand on this par 5, you can see this little buttercut, can we call that?
Yeah, that works for me.
A little buttercut. Green's holding now sets up a good eagle opportunity.
With 2 putt for birdie. Now on to the first hole. Another 15 for, this is a nice distance for him, Rob.
You know what? This is big for momentum, too. It's amazing how often just making the turn, going from the 9th to the 10th hole can kind of kill momentum. A birdie on the first will cure all that.
Curled that one in. Now on to the second with his approach shot, Paige.
Yeah, and you can see just the amount of height that he gets on his approach shots. And you can tell Green's a little soft, very receptive, able to take advantage again.
Another perfect club and a perfect shot. Another birdie onto the 4th hole, Robert Dameron. I just love the sound.
It is. They had the microphones working well. I mean, he was really compressing it. You could hear it good. And look at this. Pin high again, almost. 2 feet short of pin high.
Sticks it close, another birdie now onto the 8th hole, and people are starting to wonder, is this going to be a magical round?
A magical round, what turned into being a magical year. You wonder how much of this Hawaii two-step influenced the remainder of his season.
He would need an eagle to shoot 59. This is his approach shot on 18.
Yeah, I remember thinking that drive went in the bunker, and he had killed his chance to stop just short, and nothing was going to stop him.
So this is it, the 9th hole, his 18th of the day for that magical 59.
And so many of his putts on that day barely got to the hole. That one had some authority.
And look at that, he's able to do it alongside 2 of his best friends in the game, Jordan Spieth and Daniel Berger, the youngest player ever to shoot 59 on the PGA Tour, and he set the 18-hole tournament record. And you're going to notice a trend here. The 36-hole tournament record belonged to him. The 54-hole tournament record and the 72-hole tournament record. He also tied the 54-hole PGA Tour record and set the 72-hole PGA Tour record. Now, JT finished tied for 22nd last week at Kapalua, but he has these great memories from the Sony Open. So which has more weight, Paige, in your mind?
I think last year's finish as well as last year's performance. Last week wasn't a very good week for Justin Thomas, but it's easy to brush it aside for a lot of reasons. And I think the primary one is it's a completely different golf course. It's a totally different setup. When you look at how Maui was built, or Kapalua was built on the side of a hill, you're not going to face that kind of elevation changes when you move to the Sony Open. So I think it's going to feel a lot different than last week, so easier to put it aside.
Well, but he did have all that incredible momentum going into Sony last year. He had just won Tournament Champions. He had won CIMB a few weeks earlier. And this was almost like, I mean, the 59 was surprising, but his win wasn't surprising. Last week, he didn't play horribly. He finished 22nd, but he had 4 double bogeys. I mean, that was more than anyone in the field, bar one person. So he had some ups and downs. We saw the stats, though, the scoring average, all that stuff that he can't expect to do that again. It could still be a great place to get a spark and kind of get going again. But if you show up expecting, I'll just repeat what I did last year, you might be shooting for the stars a little
Hopefully
too
he's
much.
not trying to play too perfectly after last year. You win a major championship, you win the FedEx Cup, you shoot 59, you shoot a record at 63 in the U.S. Open. I mean, that's a lot to live up to.
It is, and I think that's a theme we're going to have to keep an eye on the remainder of the year. Got off to a good start in the fall, but we'll have to keep an eye on that for the remainder of the year. Make sure he doesn't put too much pressure on himself.
Well, JT, among the players chasing the world #1, Dustin Johnson, who is changing the way we look at the game of golf, one swing at a time.
Here's DJ on the tee.
That's the drive of the year, and it may hold up for about 7 or 8 months. The best player in the world.
He was absolutely dominant, and he has won the 2018 Century Tournament of Champions.
Dustin Johnson's 17th PGA Tour win, and here's a look inside the numbers. First in strokes gained off the tee, first in average driving distance, first in longest drive, 430 yards, highlighted by that 12th hole tee shot that went to a couple of inches. And, you know, everyone was celebrating that drive after it happened. Most people were, but maybe with a couple days of reflection. You know, we see Randall Mell with an article on golfchannel.com saying that this was not good for the game. Was that drive in excess of 400 yards good for the game of golf?
Absolutely. It was Arnold Palmer's drive at number 1 at Cherry Hills, driving the green good. We still talk about it to this day. How many drives over the course of the PGA Tour season do we remember? We're going to remember this one. It stopped short. You know, if he could have hit it 5-6 more inches, it would have been another story altogether. People come to watch the long drive. It's a business first and foremost, the PGA Tour itself is. People love to come watch it more than up and downs. There's a lot of skill involved in up and downs and controlling your wedges. But do you want to go out and watch golf because somebody can control their 8-iron and hit it exactly 157 yards? Or do you want to see somebody bomb it and DJ hit it 400 yards? I want to see 400 yards.
Is it too much, though? I mean, where do we draw the line? What's going to stop us from having a 475-yard tee shot?
I'll ask you this. So in basketball, right, the height of the rim hasn't changed, but we're seeing a lot more people dunking. Do you hate the game more than you did 30 years ago because it seems easier? Do you think they should raise the rim?
I don't think they should raise the rim, though. There was a time that they stopped dunking in basketball. I understand where you're going, because you look at the NFL.
There's evolution in all of the sports.
Offense, people love it. Baseball, right. People love the long ball. People love scoring. People love to see the big drives. But is too much good? Is it too much good? Too much length? The
only negative I see is how there's a trickle-down effect in potentially course architecture, trying to build too big of golf courses, potentially in avid amateurs thinking that they should be playing at 7,000 yards or 7,200 yards, right, when maybe they shouldn't. Those are the negatives, but I don't feel like you should be punishing the players on the PGA Tour that can take advantage of their length. I think it would be punishing them to try to reel it back.
Taking advantage of working out, taking advantage of equipment that hits the ball farther. What do you think? You're out there on the golf courses.
How about how closely they mow the grass now? Course conditions in general. You know, it's such a complicated issue. Just a blanket statement and sort of say, oh, we should roll the ball back. I don't agree with. I think there's a lot of factors that go into the idea that we take one of the most elite athletes, one of the most elite players in the game right now, who happens to be one of the best drivers of the golf ball, maybe all time, doing something exceptional at a place where we tend to see exceptional distance happen. Every year at Kapalua, we always have some sort of conversation about this because of wind conditions, because of the slopes of the valleys and where they hit it and where the ball ends up. I think this is great for the game. I think having this guy, I tune in to watch this guy, Dustin Johnson, and his peers do elite things, and that's what they're doing. I would tend to celebrate what we saw as opposed to just make blanket statements, say, hey, roll the ball back.
And yet Mike Davis of the USGA says that distance in the game, the way it's gone, has had a, quote, horrible effect on the game, which makes me wonder if something is coming down the pipe.
I kind of doubt it, because USGA doesn't just run the U.S. Open and a few other events. They cover every golf course everywhere, and he sees the amount of water, the amount of labor, the amount of turf, the lack of golf courses, because you build a bigger course, that means there's less house lights and less revenue. That's the effect he sees. I don't think the PGA Tour itself, what we're talking about, really affects it.
At the end of the day, you also got to remember we're talking about 250, 200, right, couple hundred players that play on the elite level at the PGA Tour in the men's game specifically. And we're talking about a couple hundred courses that host tour events and major championships for that elite men's game. I don't want to throw everything into a pot and say, oh, this is bad for the game, or just roll the ball back. It's just so much more complicated than that.
There's a lot of stakeholders in this conversation, sure, and our exposure to it is a very few people on the PGA Tour, and I don't see how you can change the game to appease more than just a few.
Yeah, there are economic realities as well. I mean, you're talking about businesses and companies that are every 6 months they're launching new drivers and new golf balls. So if you start, saying you can't do this, you can't do that, you can have an economic effect as well.
I haven't met a lot of amateurs out there that are walking off any golf course, regardless of their score, saying, you know what, today I hit the ball way too far.
Yeah, people don't want to see, Tom Brady not throwing 5 touchdowns in a week. If they're jamming receivers at the line, they changed the rules in the NFL so offenses can score. People want to see 350-yard drives.
And I want to see players dunk, and I want to see players hit it 350 yards. I know I can't hit it as far as Dustin Johnson. You start rolling the ball back, and suddenly I can.
Yeah.
That's not fun for me anymore.
This conversation will continue. Let's send it back over to Bailey.
All right, Damon, moving right along on this Tuesday morning. What's happening now? The Diamond Resorts Invitational. It is fast approaching. It's truly a unique event where professional golfers, 28 PGA Tour Champions players, 4 LPGA stars this year, they're coming together with celebrities of other sports, including Hall of Famers, to compete in a modified Stableford format. And I actually ran into Mark Mulder last night in the airport. He's the defending champion. He's flew in. He is ready to defend that title. He said his game is looking great right now. An action that gets underway on Friday. You can catch that right here on Golf Channel. So Mark Mulder, he is among the many notable names in the field, including some of those professionals, John Daly, Nick Faldo, Brooke Henderson, Brittany Lincecum, all major champions. And then, of course, Larry the Cable Guy, always a hoot out there, and John Smoltz in the Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame. So joining us this morning, we're going to have some of those participants in studio, or one of them. So today we're going to have Ivan Pudge Rodriguez as we take a look at the tee sheet here this morning. So he's going to join us. He is also in the Hall of Fame for MLB. He was on the Florida Marlins when they won the World Series in 2003. Just last year, like I said, he was inducted into that Baseball Hall of Fame. So what other success can he have in the state of Florida? Well, we're going to find out how he's been fine-tuning his golf game in advance of this week's Diamond Resorts Invitational right here in Orlando when he joins us later this morning. And it is Tuesday, which means it's Tech Tuesday. So our equipment insider, Matt Adams, he catches up with the president of Wilson Golf for the latest offerings from Wilson that you might want to put in your own bag. So one item in particular, the president says is the shining star of the company. So stay tuned to find out what that is. Well, on over to our shining star in all of our hearts. That's Bandon Janella's dad, Matt. That's why you're the shining star.
I think it's Bandon is actually the shining star. It's safe to say, and rightfully so. All right, that's coming up right here on today's show. As Bailey mentioned, all that. Plus, we're taking a deeper dive in some of the new courses being made and built and opening in 2018. Stay with us. Lots more right here on Morning Drive.